Ladies and gentlemen, Governor Mike Huckabee.
A high-dollar jewel thief who spent 11 years of hard time. It was in some of the toughest prisons in the country. Since he's been out, he started the reality check program to help guide teens and keep them from making the same mistakes that he made. Joining us now is Larry Lawton. Hey, Larry.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
It's my pleasure. You got started hanging out with a mob in Brooklyn, New York. How in the world do you just get a job with the mob? I mean, I've never really understood that. What do you do? Is there an application or something you fill?
No, there's no application. Actually, I was 12 years old. I was doing football tickets.
12?
I was actually started doing football tickets in my neighborhood in the Bronx, actually.
When you say doing football tickets, what do you mean?
Football tickets is a little gambling ticket. You pick 4 teams, and if you win, you put $1 down, and you get $10. If you pick 3, you get 5. It goes on and on. But that was like my introduction. I used to go around with my dad, and we used to go to certain bars in the Bronx. My dad was a construction worker. He actually built the World Trade Center, and he was one of the head guys on the World Trade Center. He's sick now, so. But so I did that, and I got that life in me, you know, that fast life, that easy money life, and that's what really was a downturn, I think, when you look back.
And then you started doing the little number games, but then how did you graduate into something bigger than that?
Well, at 17, I went in the Coast Guard. I went to the United States Coast Guard. I ended up getting hurt in the service. After I got hurt, I got out, and this was in 1986, end of '86. Then I got back into the bad life again, and I had connections from my older days in the mob, if you want to call it. Then I was associated with the mob. Ended up becoming the biggest jewel thief in the country.
Did they like recruit you and say, hey, this guy's kind of running some little numbers out here, maybe we could get him to do bigger things?
No, actually what happens is when you're making money for people, it's like any business. If you're making money and you're kicking it up and up, that's how you become good and respected.
You stole jewelry, and then you would give a part of the proceeds to the mob guys.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I was part of that.
That's why you're still alive today, because you gave them part of the proceeds.
Well, that, and I didn't tell. I didn't tell on anybody, and I accepted responsibility for what I did. I did rob. I robbed between $15 and $18 million in diamonds. I spent 11 straight years behind bars.
How much of that did you keep?
Well, about 30% is what you get on a dollar. And so if you look at like...
Kind of like the government, man. I mean,
got to give your tax
I think
dollars.
You know, the mob may be just slightly worse or about the same as what the government leads.
Well, sometimes, you know, sometimes probably better. No, there's nothing good about it. There is nothing. When you look back at your life and how you really... you know, what I did was wrong, totally wrong. There's no justification. No, I never hurt anybody in a robbery. I actually was very good at what I did. I robbed between 15 and 18 or 20 stores is what the federal government had. I was facing life. I beat a life sentence. I got my law degree in prison. And I actually won a case. I was very good at the law. And I ended up doing 4 12-year sentences run concurrently. This
was no country club for you, right?
No, I was in maximum security prisons. I was in... prisons where I was telling the staff earlier that where you have to, you lose all dignity, you lose all, there's no, talk about handcuffs, so you're stripped naked and searched everywhere daily. I was strapped down naked, tortured, and peed on by guards.
Wow.
And I wrote letters to senators, the Attorney General. I have stacks of letters, cases that I've done in the law, because I was fighting the abuses of people. There's no medical care. What Tommy was telling you, there is no medical care in prison. They'll have no staff on. I've had a man with no legs, and they said he didn't belong. And I was asking the administration, why do you leave him in there? They let him not eat. They didn't feed him. He defecated on himself, and he had no legs. He was a veteran. Now, mind you, I always try to emphasize this. I put myself in prison, and I don't blame anybody but myself for that. And but I still don't believe. You know, we're a redemption society, and you know, like you're very. We have to have compassion. So we want to rehabilitate, and that's where I do what I do now.
And you had obviously a dramatic change, because if you did 11 years hard time, you were one bad hombre, or you wouldn't have been kept in there. And you've got the tattoos to show.
Yeah, I did.
Everyone I go to Sunday school with, they have the same type of tattoos.
You know, I show these at a lot of functions I do, and the ink on this is actually melted chess pieces and soot ink, and the needle is a guitar string. And I watched the man catch Mercer and die.
Wow.
So I see kids today, and I see them do a lot of things like, oh, that's cool. It's not cool. You want a tattoo, get a tattoo on the street. You don't have to be a criminal to get a tattoo. But when I walk into a room and I show kids what happened to me from being abused and stuff, and why it's not worth it, and why you gotta go the next route. You have to go the right route. You know, we need family back in our lives. We need God back in our lives. We need a lot of things that we're not having today.
I want to find out how you came from this really pretty rough character to being a person who's out there now talking to schools and churches and all kinds of events. And I bet you want to know too, don't you, what happened to Larry? Well, you'll have to stick around, and when you do, you're going to find out, because that's what we're going to ask him when we come right back. I knew you wouldn't go away. I knew you wanted to find out what happened to Larry Lawton, as did I. Larry, you didn't stay in prison forever, 11 years, you get out. And when you got out, something changed in your life. What happened?
Well, the actual defining story is when I first got out, Mike, a friend of mine comes to me and says, Larry, I need a favor. I said, what do you want me to break somebody's legs? He says, no, I caught my son smoking marijuana, and he told me, F you, Dad, where have you ever been? He says, will you talk to my son? I got some pictures together. I did what I had to do, and I said, sure, I'll talk to him. And I developed a program after that. I saw the kid for 2 hours. The man comes back to me and says, whatever you do with your law, or whatever you do, you got to work with kids. I go, why? He goes, my kid is totally changed. You got to him. What you did, you got to him. Because I don't scare people. It's not scared straight. It's reality. But they hear it from someone who's been there. It's like they won't listen to their teacher or their counselor, their moms and dads. But if they listen to somebody who's been through what I've been through, they listen. And we developed the program, which is 4 parts. And it's what prison is really like, what you're gonna lose. And that's my wife, my kids. I had a 15-month-old baby. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. And when I got out of prison, thank God I have a relationship with my daughter. But, you know, you lost all those years, you know, at prison. You'd get pictures in, and you'd see your daughter growing up, and it breaks your heart.
You started a program called Reality Check, and now it's used by police agencies and schools all over the country. In fact, good news is we have a copy of your program, and we're going to give it to every member of our studio audience here today, so all of you will get a copy of Reality Check. Tell me, what is the program in a nutshell? What do you do in the program?
The program, we have a live program and a DVD. DVD is a 67-minute version of the actual program. And the program shows me in prison, actual pictures, and it's broken down into those 4 sections. And the last section is so important because it's avoiding and dissolving bad associations. And most kids and most people and adults, and like you said, judges sentence kids to my program. They sentence adults to my program. Judges, police officers use it. They put it in the back of their car. They run against 4 kids, and they see them having trouble, and they say, you need this. You did 3 things. You built good community relations with the community. You're trying to help a kid. You might save that kid from going to prison, and the cops have another tool to use instead of a gun. Because all of our goal is to keep kids out of prison. I love what I do. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. When you see a kid change, and our records, we have a quantitative analysis was done on my program. We have a 70% success rate in changing kids' attitudes, 90% keeping them out of jail, 43% increased education, and 31% increase in attendance.
That's pretty remarkable. It's called Reality Check. Larry Lawton is our guest, and he's a remarkable person who has shown that it can be done. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's program. I realize it's a little different. And you know what? Some of you are going to say, well, I think if a person's in prison, they ought to stay there. I know that people feel that way. But if it's your son, if it's your daughter, you know what you want to see? A second chance. You want someone to know that you're not going to give up on other people. And I know it's easy to give up on people. Maybe somebody's given up on you. I hope that maybe one of the things our program has shown, whether it's from Maury Davis or Larry Lawton or even Tommy Chong, is that there are people who've made mistakes, sometimes really, really bad ones. And it doesn't mean that their life has to be hopeless and forever just marked off as completely unredeemable. That's one of the things that makes America a great country, is that we typically don't give up on people and we don't give up on our country. I hope you don't give up on the people around you, including members of your own family. And I hope you don't give up on this country, because there's a lot of gloom and doom out there. I tend to believe that this country's been through a lot, and it's a resilient one, and we can still get through a lot of things in the future. I hope you've enjoyed the program. Let us hear from you. MikeHuckabee.com, Fox News feedback. Until next week, from New York City, this is Mike Huckabee. Good night, and God bless.